Hello, everyone. Welcome to the I Live Truth channel and podcast. I'm Earl, and I'm glad you're here. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share with those who find it useful. Also, bookmark ilivetruth.com. That's where all these episodes will be a day early to download in audio form or just stream it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about a few different things, but basically it's all the same concept. So assuming liability, or what does it mean to assume liability? Now, the definition of assume in legalese is basically to take on, to take responsibility. So yesterday we had our second play session with our PCIT therapy sessions for our daughter, my girlfriend and I, and it was a really good session because as we were playing, so for those who have no idea what it is, basically our daughter isn't behaving as we want her to, and this is a therapy that not only it doesn't just go at the behavior problems or with the behavior issues from a standpoint of the child doing something wrong, and in this case, our daughter. It trains the parents to better or more effectively appeal to our daughter and to make her feel like she's getting the things she needs to survive, and to survive in a healthy way, like attention and one-on-one time. So anyway, we got a Bluetooth headset in our ear, my phone's set up close by, and the therapist is watching us basically on a Zoom call, and she gives instruction over the Bluetooth headset. So yesterday, my daughter and I, we just played with Play-Doh and a few stuffed animals and like a little baby plastic figure. But it's child-led, so my daughter was leading, and I was just trying to be as attentive as possible and interact with her. So she would feed her baby, and we were making carrots with the orange Play-Doh, and we were planting them, and growing them, and then feeding them to her baby. So she would put the carrot in, and I would say, "Ooh, good," and then the therapist would say over the headset, nice job planting those carrots. Like, she would encourage us and help us identify the perfect time to give her labeled praise. So, doing that helps the children and, our daughter feel like we're paying attention to her, that we also encourage the good behaviors during the session. But that's not really what this episode is about, but I just wanted to bring it up because it was a good session yesterday, and it was really nice for all of us. First it was my daughter and I doing the session, and then a half hour later, my girlfriend and my daughter doing the session. And the point of this therapy is ultimately to get our daughter to behave as we want her to get her to listen, to obey us, which she should as her parents. But the basis for that therapy is assuming responsibility, assuming liability for the behavior issues, because ultimately my daughter is having these behavior occurrences because she is learning, she is mimicking our behavior. So at the beginning of our relationship, at the beginning of my daughter's life, my girlfriend and I argued a lot. We talked over each other, we yelled, and interrupting was a big portion of it, and getting upset when we were mad. So my daughter is displaying these characteristics and these behaviors. So it was a really big way to amplify the behaviors in myself that I needed to first identify and change. So I'm working to do that. We're all working to do that in our household. And but the point is, this therapy is meant for, to change the behaviors, but ultimately it's about assuming liability, because I understand that my actions, myself, are what helped cause or caused flat out my behaviors, or my daughter's behavior issues. And I don't know about most parents for sure, but I would bet money that most of them just think it's a problem with the child. They have not assumed liability for their actions and how they have impacted or trained their children to have these issues, like interrupting, yelling when they're upset, arguing, or just not listening. So also, another thing on this subject was, as I've explained in previous videos, we have laying hens and we have some ducks. We're down to 2 ducks now, 8 laying hens. So we lost a total of 4 ducks and 2 chickens. Just a few days ago, I think it was Monday. I think it was like Saturday, Sunday maybe. I don't remember which day it was. A few days, within a week, we've lost another duck. And my girlfriend, it was Monday, because it was while we had this therapy session. I was in the bathroom and I heard my dog going crazy because there was another dog in our yard. And then later on that day, my girlfriend noticed that one of our remaining ducks had he had a little bit of a scratch on his leg. He was bleeding. But she looked for the missing duck. She couldn't find him. And, she mentioned that she thinks it was their dog, but she didn't see it. She didn't see the dog attacking our duck. But anyway, the dog got it. She found the duck today under our pine tree, and he was dead. And while it's not good, like, we as pet owners or parents, it is our job to protect those under our care. It's ultimately, it's my job as the man to protect those, my woman and my children and those under me, so it's my responsibility to protect those I care for. And even if you're not a man, if you're a pet owner, if you're a parent, then it's your duty to protect those that you are responsible for. And our yard isn't fenced in. It hasn't been. We're going on our 3rd year here, and we got chickens the very first during the winter. We moved here at the beginning of winter, and we got our chickens like a month later, maybe 2 months later. And it was a hassle to keep chicks warm in the house. We had to do all kinds of things to let the chickens survive in our house, basically. I mean, granted, basically it was just a hassle, and it could have been avoided if we would have got the chickens at the beginning of spring. But and my girl wanted to wait. I didn't want to wait because I wasn't even sure I'd be able to get chicks, in a few months because of what was going on in the world. But anyway, we've had animals. We've had a dog since we moved in. We've had cats since we moved in. But I failed to protect those under my care, because our chickens are pretty well behaved. They don't really go far from their coop. The ducks are a different story. I think mainly because we got them as adults. Our chickens, they had a chance to learn where their home was. Our ducks, we brought them in, and they were already like teenager ducks, whatever those are called. I don't know. But the very first day, my dog scared them away before I was finished building their little makeshift coop or whatever, their little encagement thing outside, and they ran across the street. So from the very first night that we had them, the very first evening, they were gone. They already ran off our property, and we kept them, in a coop. They eventually stayed in our yard, but they were always, from the very beginning, running away. They came back at the end of the night, mostly. Sometimes they stayed in my neighbor's coop, but ultimately, they've been running wild. All of our birds have been running wild for probably close to a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. And so this dog that ran in our yard and got our duck, yes, the people who own the dog, they failed as pet owners. They failed to contain their animal, and we also failed by allowing animals to come into our yard. That is a responsibility of a pet owner, to contain your animal. And my girlfriend was upset about it, and rightly so. Everybody would have a right to be upset, and I was kind of upset too, but I understand that I place the responsibility on myself. And as a society, I think it's important for people to understand exactly what it means to assume liability in your life. For most of my life, I'm 33 right now, and for most of my life, I was never quite as bad as other people I've been close to about shifting liability, placing blame on somebody else. But now, just over the last, 6 months or so, I began to understand that I still wasn't assuming liability properly. Like the issues with my girlfriend and I was shifting the liability. It's just a problem with her. She needs to change, blah, 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 blah. And that is not the way to move forward in a positive way. If you or if I couldn't figure out how my actions were playing a part in it or even causing the conflict, then we'd be gone. We'd be split up, our family would be broken up, there'd be no hope. And while it does seem sometimes that hope isn't very high that things will ever change in our household, it's there most of the time. I'm very hopeful. I'm very determined. I'm very diligent, And again, I'm not perfect. This is not me saying I'm perfect, but I have hope, and I do see a future where my family is rock solid, and my girlfriend and I, our relationship is solid, and it's ultimately due, in order for it to be successful, I have to be able to assume liability and change my actions and my behaviors to build towards a solid foundation. A lot of it is just a lot of my faults, I think, in regards to the relationship I have, is that I focus too much on the small things, things like dishes, stuff like that. And also, I wasn't great at compromising. It's still a huge issue for me, but and also not being able to hear what my girlfriend was saying and value it. As I explained in a previous episode, I'll link it in the description sometime, but I was saying that it is men and women are different. Masculine and feminine, sun and moon, hot and cold, positive and negative on a battery. It's fundamental. It's fact. And women are able to perceive things that men can't. And if you're a man and you're not at least taking into consideration what women are telling you they perceive, then you're missing out on a huge amount of information that could be useful, or that is useful, and going forward. So, so those are my issues, and I'm working on those things, but it's not outside of myself, especially as the man in the relationship. According to biblical principles, it's my job to set the tone, to set the example. And it's not for me to rule over everybody or to lord over them and to control everybody. But what that means, what taking the lead means, is I set the example. I will do my best. I am making progress in this, but actively, diligently, and frequently, constantly making an effort to be Christ-like, to love others and to sacrifice for others and to help, to nurture, to provide, and to provide. I'm not saying, it doesn't mean to just pay the bills, to actually love the church or to actually love like Christ loved the church and sacrifice. That means that you have to, it means that I have to be the sacrificial lamb a lot of the time, when I see something in my house that's out of place or unfinished, I don't just leave it. You know what I mean? A lot of the times, I don't just leave things out of order. If I see that something in my house is not finished, then I don't blame somebody. I don't complain to somebody. Sometimes if it's recurring and it's something that I just can't handle, don't have the time to handle because I don't have enough time in the morning, or I gotta leave for work, or whatever the reason. I'm not saying like I can't handle doing dishes or something, but something like, for instance, Saturday, my girlfriend asked me to mow the lawn. She said, "Can you mow the lawn?" And there's something wrong with our lawnmower. I think it's just flooded. I took the spark plug out today so it can dry out. But I said, maybe, she's talking about the push mower. And I said, maybe I'm going to work on this fence, So I didn't do the lawn, and I worked on the fence. I completed the first corner for the H-brace for our woven wire fence. And, that was my top priority at the time. And really, that's going to be my top priority going forward. But that's what I mean, something I can't handle. Like, there was no possible way I could have done the fence and mow the lawn. But anyway, sacrificial lamb means, being the sacrificial lamb means to, if I come home and the dishes are dirty and there's like no dinner cooked, I'm not going to just criticize my girl for that. I'm not going to just, I might be upset, frustrated, overwhelmed a little bit, drained, whatever, I will have some type of emotional reaction, but I will do what I can to assist, to help. If that means that I have to go to sleep a half hour later, or if that means that I don't get to do something I wanted to do, like work on my website or something, then so be it. That is what I sacrifice by helping do chores that need to be done. So, or for instance, like if we're going to eat some food, we're going to go eat out, asking her what she wants rather than just going with what I would like. So, that's what it means to sacrifice for the church. That's what it means to love like Christ, like love the church. And I I still have problems with that. I'm not perfect, but I know that is my goalpost. That's where I need to be, or that's the model, So, yeah, and that type of behavior, not blaming people, or, especially your significant other, not blaming them and just, helping do it. My girl said something today about something along the lines of, yeah, but if I don't want to just be cleaning up after you constantly. And that's something that I've heard from my mom. That's what I've said. I've said this myself, in the past when I was trying to get my girlfriend to conform and to wash her dishes every time she was done eating, or pick up her laundry every time, or whatever. So that's an improper way to look at a team situation. So after she said that, she went in push mode part of the lawn today while I handled the kids, essentially. But so hot in here, crazy. Anyway, I said to her afterwards, instead of looking at it like you're always cleaning up after me, it makes more sense, or it would be better if you looked at it as helping the household, And I think that can be a really huge thing if people can learn to see it that way, because I'm always cleaning up after you, I'm always doing this, blah, 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 poor me, what about me, like I was being childish, and I was being feminine, portraying feminine characteristics. I was not loving properly by doing that. So that also ties in, that is assuming liability for your household, for your life. It's fundamental. It's vital. It cannot work if I cannot assume liability and act on that. So, yeah, you hear it a lot, and legalese, like, for instance, my work. There's so much paperwork, it's insane. But you initial all these little boxes. Every order, you initial these boxes. You write information on these papers. And what that's for is to place the liability on whoever did the paperwork, whoever completed the order. And same with, like, when I was first training, when I first came into this place, we had to do this huge training book. Like, they set aside, 3 weeks for this training process, 40 hours a week. Well, most of the time is in the classroom, but it'd probably take about 40 hours if you didn't do anything else other than the paperwork. But the whole thing is you fill out all these things, you sign all these papers, you initial, I have read this. That is assuming liability. The one initialing that paperwork is assuming liability. It's shifting, the company that I work for is shifting liability, saying, well, we trained these people properly, and they knew that they were supposed to do something, and they didn't. So, therefore, the liability is on the one who did not do what we trained them to do. And most of the things in life are like this. Any time that you are signing a paper for anything in this world, almost, you are either assuming liability or you are signing a contract. And it's for everything. Like when say you're to go get a credit card turned on in your name, when you sign the paperwork, you're consenting to a contract. Even when you get an ID, a state ID. You're signing a contract, and there's a lot of contracts hidden everywhere. There's a lot of offers they send you in the mail where you not doing anything is acquiescence. Silence is acquiescence. That's a maxim, a rule of law. And anyway, beside the point, I didn't really want to get into a whole law episode, but I did. It's important to understand that we need to assume liability in our own lives, and with our own families, with our children, especially, because especially young children, they just don't know how to act. And if the only model for how to carry themselves or portray themselves or how to behave is somebody who is unable to control their emotions, there will be problems. And in order to move forward in this world, in this society, and to grow and to get better, it's necessary for at least the men to assume liability in their households. Like so many people I know or I've talked to that have had failed relationships, like failed marriages. Most of the time I talk to the man, it's, yeah, well, she did this, she did that, she cheated. Okay, well, when she cheated, were you in another country as a soldier? Did you leave your family to fight a banker war for oil or poppies? You left your household. She didn't have a leader, so she went with another leader. You know what I mean? So it's just, we need to assume liability. And to not sound like a broken record, and to, I don't just want to keep repeating this, but it's necessary. And if we can all do this, then we can all build towards good. So assume liability in your lives. Men, assume liability in your household. And understand that if you have people or animals even that are under your care, if you are responsible for them, then you are responsible for them. It's different. Even it's not even different if my yard was completely fenced in and a hawk swooped down and got my birds. I would still ultimately be responsible because they were not properly protected. So, and just like kids, in the world today, say you send your kid to public school and then they come back and they say, I think I'm the opposite gender now, now they were probably subjected to adults telling them these things. They didn't just make it up out of nowhere. They definitely seen it somewhere and were probably taught way more than they should have been taught about the whole situation. But ultimately, it's the parents' fault for not protecting their children. They sent their kid away to state-run daycare for free because they didn't want to pay for daycare, or they thought that the only way to survive was to work a 9-to-5 job and they didn't have family. Whatever the reason, if you send your kid to be around strangers for 40-plus hours a week where you're not present, you are the one to blame for anything that happens. It's ultimately your fault. The onus is on the one with the child. It's the parent's responsibility. It's nobody else's. And this needs to be, you need to assume liability for your children. And if you don't, somebody else will, and it'll probably be something that you don't like. And that is ultimately very bad for everybody. So that's all I got for today. So if you enjoy what I talked about, if you found it interesting, helpful, if you think somebody else could benefit from it, then like, comment, subscribe, and share. Also, my goal ultimately is to farm the majority of our food, and or at least meat, and I am intending on being out of the 40-hour work week. So I want to run my own business and not need to work for a corporation. So if you want to help support me in that, help support my farm, then consider donating on ilivetruth.com. The monthly donations would be great. That helps me out the most. And if not, that's fine too. You could send a one-time donation, or you could even not donate if you want. I'm still going to do this because I feel like it's one of my callings. So anyway, if you find it valuable and you want to see more of it, consider donating. So ilivetruth.com, that's where you get all the audio a day early compared to the video on YouTube, which will be the next day. And also, there's an RSS podcast feed, so you can get an RSS reader and just punch in ilivetruth.com, select the I Live Truth podcast feed, subscribe, and you'll be notified when I post a episode. Also, join the Telegram group, the I Live Truth Telegram group, t.me/ILiveTruth. Right now I got set up, so every time I post it on my website, the link's automatically posted to Telegram, but that's absolutely instant. So the RSS feeder may be a few hours late, but the Telegram is instant. And with that being said, hope everyone's having a great day, and I'm out of here. See ya.